Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
We know what we need to do to become a more sustainable country.
Theories that would shrink record-sized Gulf of Mexico dead zones.
Healthy Community Services is changing that lens at the way people look at urban stormwater flooding.
One woman's campaign to curb flooding in her neighborhood.
This is now going to help children not to be homeless, hopefully help them not be incarcerated.
The governor signs a bill extending foster care to age 21.
Hi, I'm Natasha Williams.
And I'm Moreau. Much more on those top stories in a moment on this week's edition of SWI. But first, a look at other stories making headlines across our state.
The U.S. Justice Department will file federal hate crime charges against a Louisiana man in connection with 3 fires that destroyed African-American churches this year. The department says 21-year-old Holden Matthews faces counts of intentional damage to religious property. He's also charged with 3 counts of using fire to commit a felony. Matthews has pleaded not guilty to the charges from the state that he already faces. The Terrebonne Parish School Board approved the creation of a school-based clinic at an elementary school. Tesh Action Clinic will be based at Acadian Elementary, which has about 800 students. A nurse practitioner, licensed practical nurse, professional counselor, and receptionist will staff the clinic daily. Trouble for LSU after a legislative audit found it so poorly handled the licensing of a medical software program that it created a conflict of interest and cost the university more than $1.5 million in legal fees, contracting fees, and an untold amount in potential revenue. Legislative Auditor Darryl Papura outlined a litany of problems with the LSU-created software designed to ease the sharing of patient data. It was widely used back in 2006 across the then LSU-run network of public hospitals and clinics. Uber and Lyft will move into the state's smaller and mid-sized cities after a measure passed by lawmakers. Governor John Bel Edwards signed the bill into law this week at Nicholls State University in Thibodaux. The Thibodaux region is one area that's been seeking access to the rideshare services for years and now will have it. New cabins are opened at Lake Bruin State Park in St. Joseph. The park is in the Mississippi River Delta in northeast Louisiana. 2 standard cabins and 1 deluxe cabin are available for reservations. The deluxe cabin can sleep up to 8 people, has a 2-car garage, and 2 dedicated boat slips. More info is available on the state park's website. Rebuilding after a deadly April tornado at Louisiana Tech is now a full-time job. The twister totaled Tech's baseball and softball complexes and did extensive damage to soccer, tennis, and track and field facilities. It caused major damage elsewhere on campus and in the city of Ruston and claimed 2 lives. Insurance will pay for much of the repair costs. Moreau and Ouachita Parish has received a federal grant of about $500,000 to redevelop more than a dozen abandoned industrial and commercial sites. The sites are thought to be contaminated by chemicals or other pollutants. Monroe Mayor Jamie Mayo says use of the money could help boost economic growth.
Now, dead zone is a quite ominous word if you're a fish or a crab, even a little worm in the sediments, which means that there's not enough oxygen for those animals to survive.
That's Nancy Rabalais, LSU marine scientist, giving a TED Talk about dead zones. A near record-sized dead zone is predicted this summer in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf dead zone caused by an increase of chemicals in the Mississippi River, which then empties into the Gulf. Rabalais has studied coastal marine ecosystems for 40 years and diving and measuring the oxygen levels in the Gulf. She's been doing that since 1985. She is the go-to person on this topic. Well, Nancy Rabalais, what do you find as you have been diving over the years? What changes have happened, or is it a year-to-year type of change with the dead zones increasing or maybe not being quite as big?
Well, the dead zone used to be a lot smaller than it is now. And over the last several years, we've had some record-breaking years, and we expect another record-breaking year this year as well. And as far as diving in the dead zone, in the low oxygen area, basically you can see lots of fish at the surface. It's usually pretty interesting, and then when you get to the bottom, the water clarity goes away. You can't see as well. Sometimes it's black, and you certainly don't see any fish or anything living on the pilings of the oil platforms.
And that is because of it being in a dead zone?
Right, because of the low oxygen.
In one of your talks, you mentioned that fishermen know when they go to make their catch and they come up with nothing.
Right.
They know they're in a dead zone.
Right, right. So they move somewhere else. They have smaller nets called tri-nets just to try it out and see what's there. And they've been doing this a lot longer than I have. They know where the shrimp are.
What concerns you the most about seeing the increase?
It means that the ecosystem is still sick, basically, and that human causes have led to it, and that we need to try to do something about it.
And do you find that anything is being done?
Well, on small steps, some agricultural practices, which is the primary source of the nitrogen, have been implemented and show that you can make just as much money doing alternative agriculture techniques that keep the nitrogen on the land. It's just the large-scale agriculture that we have through the middle of the country that has not been challenged to do those sorts of techniques.
What's going to take for that challenge to be there?
The corn-soybean rotation has been predicted not to be sustainable into the future. And looking at the low price of corn right now and the addition of tariffs, that may stimulate some alternative ways of doing agriculture, you would hope. We know what we need to do to become a more sustainable country. And that all emphasizes a carbon footprint. But we need to emphasize a nitrogen footprint, which reflects our consumptive habits of too much meat, relying on corn fructose, relying on ethanol, just a change of lifestyle so that we're not so consumptive would definitely help.
You mentioned when there's a lack of oxygen that fish, or some fish, swim into that. They know it's unhealthy. They swim away.
Right.
What can't get away, though?
Well, the animals that live in the sediments, the worms, the clams, the snails, brittle stars, they can't get up and move. You see them get up onto the top of the sediment and try to get up into some oxygen, but they can only go about this far, so that doesn't help.
Does that impact oysters, shrimp?
The shrimp will move out.
Move out, okay.
The oysters are not usually affected unless the low oxygen water mass comes inshore and covers an oyster reef, which it has done periodically, and certainly in Mississippi it's been happening a lot more recently than in the past.
What should people take away from this besides the footprint and doing better as an overall society?
Well, the society extends well up into the Mississippi River watershed because they have their own water quality problems. In the watershed, they have high nitrate levels in their drinking water. They have to put tertiary treatment onto their drinking water systems. And they have these noxious and toxic blue-green algal blooms in their reservoirs and lakes that are toxic to human beings. So they have their own problems, and we both know we have comparable problems. We just need to do better communication between the two. And it happens. We have Midwestern Wisconsin farmers come to Cocodrie and communicate with the shrimpers, and the shrimpers go up there and communicate with them. So there's a lot of communication going on. It just needs a shift. This is global. It's not just in the Gulf of Mexico. And warming waters, which will happen with climate change, those warmer waters do not hold as much oxygen as cooler waters. So that's a double whammy, both the nitrogen and climate change.
Nancy, thank you.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Climate scientists warn that as the atmosphere heats up, it can hold more moisture. Well, this leads to more intense storms and record flooding, as we have seen this spring. LPP is partnering with public radio station WWNO to highlight how Louisiana is addressing climate change.
WWNO reporter Tegan Wendland sat down with a resident of New Orleans' 7th Ward. She's helping her neighborhood reduce the amount of stormwater entering the city's already taxed drainage system.
So your organization focuses on helping people in the 7th Ward alleviate flooding through installing things like rain barrels and rain gardens. How did you first get excited about this kind of work?
Well, this started with my great niece, who they were experiencing flooding on their playground at school, and so we had this conversation about what happened at school that week, and so she started to explain to me about rain gardens and what it meant. From there, it just blossomed into a passion by, first of all, learning what a rain garden is, what's green infrastructure.
So tell us more about the 7th Ward and why you focused your projects here.
First of all, I live here. I'm a 4th generation New Orleanian. I live in a house that my grandfather won in a card game. And most importantly, because this is the area that's prone to flooding. And it's an predominantly African-American community, and folks are busy working, so they're not paying attention to what is happening as respect to flooding until it's an acute issue. And so Healthy Community Services is changing that lens at the way people look at urban stormwater flooding, coastal land loss, sea level rise, and climate change. And so we go about engaging and educating and empowering residents around those issues to start to make incremental changes by installing such things as a green infrastructure intervention. To date, we have 9 projects within the boundaries of the 7th Ward, collecting close to 10,000 gallons of water.
Wow.
To reduce flooding in our area.
So can you tell us a little about the rain garden we're sitting in front of now?
Actually, it's a bioswale, because the rain garden is a depressed area that's circular, and the bioswale is linear. And what happens with the bioswale, we put in native plants and aggregate to absorb the water. So as high as these plants are, the roots are as deep. This particular bioswale captures 350 gallons of water. It infiltrates into the earth, raising our water table. So 350 gallons of water on this site alone never gets into the storm system. When it reaches its capacity, then it's a slower amount that goes into our storm system.
So is that as much or more as might run off your house on a big rainstorm, during a big rainstorm?
Correct. If it's a big rainstorm, it will get to capacity. And within 72 hours, it has gone back into the water table, so there's no mosquito larvae there. We just did maintenance on it by keeping it clean to make sure that it's working properly. And the microorganisms that we saw in there was amazing. Even when the native plants start to bloom, it's always exciting to see how they just pop out at you. So in this particular bioswale, there's palmetto saw, muley grass, Louisiana irises. It's all native plants, native to Louisiana. So in these particular plants don't mind being wet. So that's why they're the ones that we use in the bioswale, along with the mulch of pine needles, so it helps to break down and feed the bioswale as well.
So do you notice a big difference then when there's a storm? Like,
oh,
did there used
absolutely.
to be?
What used to happen was the backyard used to flood, and now that water is transported around into the bioswale, so I no longer have flooding in the backyard. And when we have a heavy rain event, The water is slow to go into the drains on this side of the street, and it's very fast on the other side of the street.
How have your neighbors reacted to your sort of greening of your space?
The neighbors are really excited because, in fact, this fall, each neighbor on this block will get a type of green intervention project so that this will be a green block. And so we're working with the city to have it deemed as such so that other residents can come out and look at the different types of interventions that's going on. We want to serve as a model to show what community-driven action looks like.
So your organization's actually going to help everyone on this block to install
That's correct.
bioswales and rain gardens?
That's correct.
Cool. And they're pretty excited about it?
Everyone is excited, and it's inclusive of everyone. So if you're a renter, you can have something as simple as a rain barrel to do your share. So everyone on this block will receive a type of green intervention project.
These are pretty small scale projects. I'm sure they're effective at soaking up rain in specific neighborhoods and on certain blocks, like you said. But how effective is this method for the whole city?
It's a start. And if we begin to make a start somewhere, one neighbor that's not flooded, one neighborhood that's not flooded, or I don't want to give anyone a false sense that this will resolve our whole issue, because we have to have green infrastructure along with our green infrastructure, the pipes, the drains, and the pumps. But we know we have an aged system. So if we begin to make a start and incorporate and marry them together, then we can have an impact on flooding in our community.
So how do issues of inequity come into play when it comes to who gets flooded the most often and why?
So this was swamp area, so it was cheap land. So it was land where people of color could purchase land. And so as we pump water from the river to the lake, it's, the hydrology of it is from highest to lowest, and we just live in a low area. The other thing is what's called the urban hydraulic system. We've built more land and used more concrete as opposed to the natural settings that was here before. So there's nowhere for the water to go when you build it up. So we have to start using and thinking about other materials that will help to absorb water, whether it's the natural habitat or if we're using permeable concrete. There are all sorts of methods and interventions that we can use. We just have to expose folks to them to give them, again, those choices to make the best decisions for their families. That's why healthy community services is so important. We're starting that conversation. We're putting it on people's minds before an event occurs. And that's what's excited in my neighborhood, that people are having that conversation. So it's not just a conversation that's going on when it floods and what is the city going to do about the flooding. It's about all of us doing something about the flooding, and we can start to take those steps by installing green infrastructure projects.
This segment is part of the Sinking Cities in Peril and Promise initiatives from PBS and WNET. You can find more Louisiana stories at lpb.org/sinking. And you can see how London is dealing with climate change. That's Sunday morning at 11. Watch Sinking Cities, London.
It was a measure aimed to help foster children who turn 18 and often find themselves with nowhere to go and no one to help them. Senate Bill 109 passed by an overwhelming majority and will now help young adults in foster care stay in the system, receive services, and live with their foster parents until they turn 21. The bill's sponsors say the bill will give foster children a greater chance to succeed after many have been struggling to catch up since the day they were born.
My name is Devin Formo.
Their testimony often bringing tears to the eyes of the bill's sponsor.
I am not going to cry.
I come here today in hopes to bring about change so future foster youth don't have to endure the pain and hardships I had to go through in order to be successful.
Foster children like Devin Forno, who are now adults, explaining the hardships they had no choice but endure.
If anyone in here has ever been homeless, you would understand how difficult it is to get out of homelessness. It's like falling in quicksand. If someone isn't there to get you out, then you'll most likely be trapped.
Story after story.
At 11, I experienced a life of emotional, mental, and physical abuse at the hands of my father, which led me down a path of darkness.
Young people recounting life experiences many adults would find difficult to maneuver.
I remember being hungry. Often, I remember opening the refrigerator and only seeing butter. I would just eat it.
All who came to the Senate chambers to tell their life stories are survivors, but they say the day they turned 18, the struggle to find the path to success became longer and almost impossible to navigate, something Senator Regina Barrow says she recognized several years ago when she began studying the issue in the midst of a state budget crisis. She says she kept fighting to help those fighting an uphill battle.
We just kept applying it, kept just applying our efforts and kept looking into the issue and just kept pressing the issue and just kept pressing the issue. And what happened, the secretary actually decided to bring some of these young people in as interns. And when she did that, she began to hear the stories. And then she was like, we need to share these stories.
Senate Bill 109 follows Senate Bill 129, an effort passed last year which extended care to age 21 for anyone still in high school or working toward continuing their education. But it was not enough, leaving many foster children who aged out left out.
I remember, unfortunately, when I first got elected, when the program was actually eliminated. And I remember one of my colleagues saying from the microphone, what are we doing here? Are we now going to, just kick kids out when they turn 18? And I didn't quite understand the magnitude of that at that time, but it never rests with me. And, I'm so glad that finally, after all these years, we made it a priority.
Senator Barrow says many of these young people's concerns about adulthood began well before 18.
They would talk about the stress they would begin to feel almost a year out. At 17, they're worried about what's going to happen to them next year because they know that they're getting ready to transition out. Most of them don't have connection to their biological families, and they had nowhere to go.
The path to passing the bill, which Governor John Bel Edwards signed at the end of the 2019 legislative session, followed the recommendations of a legislative task force formed to research the issue. That task force found that extending the age of care would help improve outcomes of young people in foster care.
Senate Bill 109 has really changed everything for us.
Christy Tate is a child welfare manager with the Department of Children and Family Services.
It will change outcomes for our youth. They can continue in care in a different type of program that really puts them in the driver's seat and allows them to gain more independence so that by the time they do leave us at 21, they can be in a much better place.
Studies have shown many removed from care and services at 18 have had great difficulty staying on track.
Our outcomes are really the same as they are nationwide for youth that are leaving care at 18, and those are very poor outcomes. About 75% end up pregnant within a couple of years, and parenting, which we know at that young age is a difficult thing to do. Only about 3% end up graduating with a college degree. 1 in 4 are homeless. And so we believe that this program will really change those outcomes, which will benefit our state in the long run, but more importantly, help those kids be successful.
Tate says they'll be following the Youth Villages program that has been successful for over 20 years in Tennessee. That organization was a strong advocate of SB 109, pledging $3 million to support the state's foster care efforts.
We thought their proposal was really innovative, combining case management with YV LifeSet services, and wanted to take them up on their application and have partnered with them since November of last year.
Youth Villages says their foster care studies showed that youth removed from care at age 18 struggled with basic survival and had very limited success.
We saw that in terms of housing stability, employment, education, and their involvement with the legal system. Our own data showed us positive outcomes for the youth we were serving. And so then we ended up conducting a randomized clinical control trial across the entire state of Tennessee. 1,300 young people were part of that study. It's the largest study that's been done across the country for this population. And that study showed that when compared to services as usual, YV LifeSet had impacts in housing stability, employment, increased earnings, mental health stability, as well as decreases in domestic violence.
That study is Danica Carter's living testimony.
Aged out. What did it really mean? For me, it meant that on my 18th birthday, when I was a senior in high school, my foster mom dropped me off at my 18-year-old boyfriend's house, where he lived with his mom. The thing is, his mom wouldn't let me stay. Within 3 months of aging out, I was pregnant.
All right, girl. Get some napkins if you need it, girl.
I have a beautiful 4-year-old daughter because of it. It was not my plan for myself. I had no money, no job, no family, and seemingly no way forward. Last year, my daughter and I have lived in a battered women's shelter and a Salvation Army. I am now 23 years old, and these past years have been hard. It's taken me 5 years to create a sense of stability.
But Senator Barrow and other advocates of SB 109 are hoping stories like Donica's will become fewer and fewer, the exception, not the norm, giving them a chance at life without constant struggle.
There was a set of brothers that came last year and testified. So 2 of the brothers ended up being incarcerated, and one of the brothers is in school. And so when you think about the cost that we are paying per day for those young people who are currently incarcerated because they did not have that help, there was no gap to assist them. We are now paying much more than we would pay right now to assist them if they would have received that help. So I mean, either you pay now or you pay later. I mean again, when you look at teen pregnancy rates, 71% of them would have multiple pregnancies before 21. But then it begins to start that cycle all over again, where that child can ultimately end up again, in the foster care system. But now there's going to be a stopgap. I believe that we are going to be able to be a positive interruption on an otherwise destructive path.
Now, Senator Barrow says this bill was not possible without the help of her colleagues rallying with her, some foregoing their own projects to help young people in our state. 28 other states have similar programs to help young people who've aged out of traditional foster care.
Important stuff, big time. Well, that is our show for this week, everyone. Remember, you can watch us and anything LPB anytime, wherever you are, with our brand new app.
Well, download it for free from our app store. This upgraded version features news, public affairs, documentaries, how-tos, and many more programs. And please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
For all of us at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Moreau.
I'm Natasha Williams. Thanks for watching.
Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.